Hello everybody and welcome to this, I believe my first ever unboxing or in-box or out-of-box review or whatever of this kit that you see before you, obviously, which has been very kindly donated to me by the Kitmaker Network for me to review and build, which I must say I am very much looking forward to. It is the brand new tooling, brand new release from Tamiya, the US 2.5 ton 6x6 Airfield fuel truck in 1/48th scale, which is perfect because obviously that means you can then show it with your 1/48th scale aircraft. And as you can see from the box art, they're about to refuel a P-47 Thunderbolt, and as luck and coincidence would have it, I have actually just completed a 1/48th scale P-47 Thunderbolt, albeit in free French markings, depicting an aircraft that was stationed in Italy in 1945, whereas these trucks are actually, the ones depicted in this kit were actually stationed in France. But if we don't tell anyone, nobody will know, so shh, because obviously the French would have flown from US airfields anyway. And as I say, this is a brand new tooling. The date on the side of the box says 2014, and when you see a number like that next to a word like this, that can only mean good things. And I'm really enjoying getting out of my comfort zone and getting away from prop driven aircraft and doing these ground effect vehicles, if you want to call it that. Not quite into the tanks, but I quite like things like trucks. As I say, I've just done that little excuse me, the Russian starter truck, which was made by a company called Unimodel, obviously quite short run, and the quality of their toolings compared to the Master here, well, there was almost no comparison. So I'm really looking forward to building a truck that's a brand new tooling by Tamiya. And when I first opened the box, I was quite actually surprised by the fact that the styrene is moulded in this olive drab colour. Obviously, having only ever built Tamiya aircraft, which come in that nice neutral grey that they do, I was quite surprised actually to see the coloured styrene. But I have seen other people I subscribe to on YouTube building tanks that have, that were originally in the beige plastic, obviously depending on the final colour scheme. But anyway, let's have a look at this. This is the main sprue, obviously, and as you would expect, it is absolutely gorgeous. Beautiful surface detail. Not an awful lot of surface detail, obviously, because it's a truck, but what there is incredibly nicely rendered. Not even the merest hint of flash, as you would expect from a brand new Tamiya tool. In fact, you would expect that from an old Tamiya tooling, never mind one that's just hot off the press. Everything's just absolutely gorgeous. All the ejector pin marks obviously on this side. One or a couple that were a little cause for concern were the ones that were just in the top corners of the door panels or the door frames, right next to some raised exterior detail and the door handles and the window winder handles. So it's going to be almost impossible to remove these ejector pin marks without causing some kind of collateral damage. But that being said, I'm going to show this with the doors closed anyway, and what light's going to get through here and through the windscreen or windshield for you American folks means that you're not going to see these ejector pin marks anyway, so what the hey. So we get this sprue, which is the main sprue. We have this one, and these two. Now these two are both the same. This is sprue A, and they're identical. And it took me a little while to figure out what I think is the reason, because we've got a radiator grille here, turn over, we've got a radiator grille here, steering wheel, and then I realised it was obviously to make up the numbers for the wheels. I think, yeah, so 2 and 2, because there's obviously 8 at the back, 2, 2, 2, 2. But then that begs the question, why not just make one sprue with the appropriate number of wheels on it, and one radiator grille and one steering wheel and because I mean there's going to be quite a few things going into the spares box after this build. But anyway, it's Tamiya, they know what they're doing, so I'll leave it to their infinite wisdom. Another strange little, I say an anomaly, but it says on the front here that it includes 2 figures in refueling pose, whatever a refueling pose is, because these guys don't look like they're doing an awful lot of refueling. This guy, I'm not even going to go there. I mean, this guy could be holding a, well, I won't even go there either. That's these 2 here. This is the army guy. Sorry, that's the guy in the overalls, and there's the army guy. But if we look on this sprue here, we have another torso, which is in a seated position. So we also have a driver, and it's strange that Tamiya make no mention of this, the third man, as it were. Now the thing is that, as I said, I'm trying to get out of my comfort zone by trying different things. And one thing I'm really bad at is figures. Unless I want my figures to look like extras from The Walking Dead, I've generally avoided figures where possible. However, that being said, these being 1/48 scale, I mean, there's only so much you can do with a face that size. So I might have a go, and if they don't turn out, then I just don't show them with it. But I'll give it a go and see if I can make them look less like they've just risen out of a grave. But here's another little thing that I thought was kind of odd-ish, especially from a company like Tamiya, whose skills with tooling and their, the manufacturing of their toolings is second to none. So why make such a large assembly of what could have been, I don't know, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, maybe about 11 or 12 individual components? I mean, the reason we buy these things is we buy them so we can stick them together. That's part of the fun, is cutting the bits off and sticking them together. This, which is the axle assembly, we've got the 2 rear axles, the front axle, and all the drive shafts, and presumably the transfer box. It's moulded as one complete part, which I just thought was kind of odd, given the opportunity that exists for them to be in separate pieces. But again, as I say, it's a minor quibble. Same with the chassis. I mean, we've got the oil sump and the gearbox here moulded all as one, when again it seems like a lost opportunity for more parts to piece together. But anyway, as I say, minor quibble. Clear parts, again, injection moulded. It's not an acetate sheet like the little uni model truck. Again, nice and thin, optically perfect. No lens. Well, there's a little bit of lensing, but I mean, I'm holding this quite a distance away from the text. If I place it on the text, it's just, there's no deformation whatsoever. I did notice that the windshield wipers are moulded as well. I would have preferred them to be a separate part so that they could be painted and then placed on the windscreen. There's just very little margin for error here. If this was a, some flat part of the outer skin of the vehicle, and you're having to glue a part on, you paint it and you get some paint on this, well, you paint over that until you get it just right. You can't do that with the glass part, so it's going to have to be done. That's part of the fun, isn't it? Decals, typical Tamiya decals. It's almost like braille. They're so thick. They're not as shiny as I've seen in the past, but there is quite a bit of carrier film on the stencils, not so much on the roundels and the stars. But the thing is, in my experience, and you might not find this, I don't know, but once you put your flat coat on to sort of unify everything, I always believe that the flat coat, the varnish, whatever you're using, adheres to the decal surface differently than it adheres to the paint surface. Which means that when you put your pigments or your washes on, they then adhere to the varnish differently over the decal as they do over the paint. And because these decals are so thick, you can actually get a little build-up of pigment or wash in this sort of along the edges. So it just highlights further that it's a transfer, or it's not been painted on, as it were. But cross that bridge when we come to it. Another little baggie here that's got what I believe is the fuel hose, and there's a little length of copper wire. I'm not sure what that's for, because we don't get an engine with this. So it's not as if we need something for ignition leads or high tension leads or any other electrical cabling. I dare say we'll find out. But that's the hose for that. And then the instructions, typical Tamiya. I love how you just have to look at a manufacturer's instructions and you know who it is. You know, it's just like, you just need a small segment, you know it was a Tamiya. But you do get plenty of paper, as you can see. Lots of white, rather than the stages condensed into just 2 or 3 with lots of arrows and total confusion that ensues from such a thing. Everything's laid out logically as you would expect from Tamiya. There's what the copper wire's for. Of course, how obvious. Why didn't I think of that? We shove the copper wire up the hose and it allows us to pose the hose. Makes the hose posable, that makes perfect sense. Why didn't I think of that? Stupid boy. Japanese think of everything, don't they? So yeah, this looks like a very, very nice little kit. Something a wee bit different, certainly for me anyway. But it'll be a nice respite after the rigours of the Unimodel kit to stick together something that's probably almost clips together, non-Tamiya. Glue's optional almost. So we'll get started on this fairly soon and we'll see what we can do with it, including the figures. Oh my god. Anyway, thanks for watching and I'll speak to you again soon.